Well, so probably the first and probably the biggest obstacle that I like to speak to and inform everybody about. So growing up in Collierville, I was kind of this, I don't want to say this whiz kid, but I was always somebody who stood out. I was always winning accolades, best all around in middle school, and always being chosen the captains of the team. So I was kind of what you would call a for sure college graduate from the small town of Collierville at that time, first in the family. If there was any sure thing, it was going to be Antonio. He's not he's about his business. He doesn't play around. He's not a follower. I was the only one that went to college outside of in my circle, especially going away to Nashville or Tennessee State. So I was a for sure bet. I mean, my church threw a party for me when I was getting ready to leave. It was like, hey, you're the guy that we all know is going to be this huge success. And then I had a baby, right? And so imagine the fear of at 20 years old of having to come back home and face like everybody who pushed me out there to be this great success, as well as those naysayers who were ready to just jump on anything that you do or any mess up that you may have. So that was a huge obstacle that I had to face and overcome is how do I pick myself up?
If you're new to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiration and tips to become a more resilient and confident leader of others or even just your own life. Hey everybody, I'm back with another episode of So Success Stories. And today I have the pleasure of speaking to a newer friend of mine, and his name is Antonio Taylor. Antonio is the Vice President of Infrastructure, Security, and Services at Transnetyx. And Transnetyx is a company that I had the pleasure of speaking for and actually doing some leadership training for earlier this year. I think it was earlier this year. Great company. And that was my first time meeting Antonio. I think we have some mutual friends and mutual acquaintances. And I met him that day and I fell in love with his story. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about it. And very, very moved by his desire to help young people just like me. So I'm super excited to talk to Antonio and to share his story. Antonio, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to watch you and see what you do, and excited to be a part of the journey and the platform to try to bring some awareness to who we great people are who have persevered and been resilient. So I was born and raised in Collierville, Tennessee. I like to tell people Collierville was not what it is now. We very small town. Everybody kind of knew each other. We had 2 or 3 street lights, 2 or 3 restaurants. So growing up in Collierville had some challenges on its own. We were known as the country. And so we had that stereotype that was placed on us. So the oldest of 3. So I was always that one who was the advice giver, the one who was always the protector. I have a brother and a sister. And so, yeah, so born and raised here. I started out going to college at Tennessee State. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the story for college. But some things happened and I ended up not finishing. So I've been working in IT for about 24, almost 25 years now. And so I like to tell people that I got started early. I hadn't clocked into a job since 1999. And so that's something I like to brag on. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I'm like, okay, so I lived in the new Collierville. I don't know if you did that or not, but after they built the mall,
yes,
I lived over there right behind the mall for a short period of time when I was married. So that's that's part of my soul was story. And I'm also the oldest child. I'm the oldest of 5, so I also know what it's like being the oldest child. So hey, we connect on a couple things already,
yeah.
and definitely we could connect on your story. So in this program, I have what I call the So What Success System. It is my belief that if anyone can learn how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices, they can have So What Success. And that is success no matter what happens in life, no matter what you go through. And Antonio, I know you have a So What Success story. So first, let's talk about some of the obstacles you've overcome and just how you did it.
Well, so probably the first and probably the biggest obstacle that I like to speak to and inform everybody about. So growing up in Collierville, I was kind of this, I don't want to say this whiz kid, but I was always somebody who stood out. I was always winning accolades, best all around in middle school, and always being chosen the captains of the team. So I was kind of what you would call a for sure college graduate from the small town of Collierville at that time, first in the family. If there was any sure thing, it was going to be Antonio. He's about his business. He doesn't play around. He's not a follower. I was the only one that went to college outside of in my circle, especially going away to Nashville at Tennessee State. So I was a for sure bet. I mean, my church threw a party for me when I was getting ready to leave. It was like, hey, you're the guy that we all know is going to be this huge success. And then I had a baby, right? And so imagine the fear of at 20 years old of having to come back home and face like everybody who pushed me out there to be this great success, as well as those naysayers who were ready to just jump on anything that you do or any mess up that you may have. So that was a huge obstacle that I had to face and overcome is how do I pick myself up? I'm on my way to being the next Johnny Cochran. I was going to school to be a lawyer, and right. So I had this whole path laid before me that I had worked with some of my mentors on, and here I am, not even a year and a half into school, having to drop out, right? Because I just couldn't see myself not being in my child's life. I knew what that meant. My biological father wasn't around as much as I would like for him to be, and so I just knew I couldn't be that what he was to me. I knew I had to just step up, and so, but that was hard. I mean, it was hard coming back home and hearing, oh wow, I knew you weren't as good as everybody portrayed you. I knew you couldn't do this, and hearing all those things and realizing I have zero backup plan. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just know I have to come back home. It worked out in my favor, right? I'm one of those Brazilian ones, as you like to say, hey, I don't like to be told no, and I don't like anybody ever challenging what I can do. It kind of like lights a fire into me. So that did light a fire into me to go ahead and do what I had to do. But I can underscore how difficult that was at 20 years old to go back and, my mom is super proud of me for going to school and bragging on her baby. And for me to say, yeah, I got to come home because I got a baby on the way. That's probably the biggest obstacle that kind of set me in the path that I've been on for the remaining time of my career.
So I definitely can relate to that because by the time I was 20, I had a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
and it was similar in that I always did well in school and people and I was a good girl. So it was like, wow, in the world. And so
yes.
Everything that you were saying, I can definitely relate to in terms of the people that were rooting for you and you feel like you're letting them down. And then the people who were like, oh, you think you are that anyway. And like, no, you not. No, you not. See, you messed up. You messed up.
Yep,
definitely
absolutely.
those people. But then also you probably let yourself down the most,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So I can definitely relate to every bit of that. Now, hats off to you though for feeling the weight of I have to be responsible. I have to make a major sacrifice and change in my life to take care of that responsibility. As women, we do that and we feel that typically when those situations, specifically a pregnancy happens, it's not that common that a man feels that magnitude of I got to, and so hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
That's major. That is major. So, okay. So the next part of the Silver Success System is eliminating excuses. Talk about some of the excuses you had to eliminate. Because, got that obstacle. That is a big one. We see you today as VP. Let's go to the attorney. Talk about some of the excuses you had to eliminate and how you did.
So I had to eliminate actually I had to eliminate the woe is me excuse, right? Oh wow, I can't believe I allowed this to happen to me. Like you said, there's a lot of guilt, right? And I think it was I don't want to call it healthy, but it did kind of drive me. But growing up in that time, it was so easy to go work in the factory and just be like everybody else. And your excuses, well, my dad wasn't around, like I wanted him to be, we didn't, all these other things that happened and took place. But I really felt like I owed my son more than that, more than an excuse. So the working 2 and 3 jobs, being tired, so I decided to pivot into IT because IT was easy for me. And it just started happening organically. IT started, becoming prevalent in the world, right? And so I stopped thinking about, hey, I'm not in college anymore. I'm not going to be able to get these jobs. I just went head first into, okay, there's zero excuses. If I want it, I'm going after it. I don't care about how tired I am. I don't care about how much I have to work. I don't care about hearing nobody's ever done this before. I don't care about hearing, hey, man, look, the mom is going to take care of the baby. You ain't got to be, no, mom isn't. I'm taking care of everybody, right? We good, right? Even though we're not together, we good, right? And so I had to eliminate the excuse of feeling sorry for myself, right? And feeling like, you know what, just go be something else. Then that first dream of being the next Johnny Cochran didn't work out. Just go work in this job and go do this and figure that out along the way. I wanted to eliminate that excuse, and I want to also show myself, right, that I had the ability to rise above the obstacle and all the excuses that were being, man. I mean, people were literally, which happened so quick because it's not like I'm 35. I'm 21, right? And I just kept hearing like, oh, it's too late now. You got a baby. It's too late. You're not gonna be able to go back to school. You're not gonna be able to do all these things. You say you want to be there for the kid. You got to be there for the kid. You ain't gonna have no money no more. And she gonna put you on child. All these conversations start happening. I start hearing all these things that easily could have been excuses for me to say, you know what, you right. I'm gonna just wallow in my pity and not pick myself up. But I just, I was raised by my grandmother, and I got that old school kind of soul to me. They made something out of nothing all the time, right? And so she would always tell me, there's nothing that you can do if you don't put your mind to it. And I had to really like isolate myself from people quite a bit. I didn't really let anybody know what I was doing and the story that I was writing for myself, because there were so many naysayers, and there were so many. I mean, I don't know how I don't want to say it's easy, but when you grow up and you don't have, the resources that you need, I think a lot of times people look at failure as something that, oh, that's just for sure going to happen. But when you pretty much have everything you need and you're pretty much on this pedestal, and then you have a crash, man, that is so hard to get up from. And people make all kinds of excuses in the world about why I don't want to disappoint people anymore. I don't want that feeling of having my mom look at me in a way that isn't proud anymore. All those things are going in my head, right? And so I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I just started doing it, right? And so I just kind of made sure that I realized there is no such thing as excuses. You have one mission. You got to make sure this son of yours has the best opportunity at life that's possible. I don't know what that looked like. Just make sure that it happens. And so I just kind of got rid of everything in my way and just said, you know what? I'm head first. I'm out. I'm gone.
Okay. So, first of all, when you said I got rid of the woe is me, I have a slide, or I don't use it anymore, but they said from woe is me to woe me. That's why I was like, I'm going from woe is me to woe me. And I can see that all over you too. You like, okay, yeah. You can feel sorry for me if you want to, but I'm not going to feel sorry for myself anymore. I'm about to make some big things happen. And that's what you did. But I want to go a little bit deeper, because your story is common, right? Mm-hmm. Just like mine is common. Mm-hmm. In terms of, you said your father wasn't there like you needed him to be, or as much as you needed him to be. And then you end up becoming a father at a young age. Mm-hmm. It is so common, though, for the man and the Black man, especially. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you felt this extreme commitment to your son, to your child, son, mm-hmm. but to your child to be there. Talk mm-hmm. a little bit more, and I think it's important, a little bit more about what made you say, I have to, because it's mm-hmm. so easy. And I'll say this real quick too. I remember when I first started doing this work, I was speaking to a 5th grade class who had read my book. Mm-hmm. And I was still working at FedEx at the time, and I would go in at the end and answer questions. 5th grade, a little boy raised his hand, and he said, why does the man leave when a girl gets pregnant?
Wow.
I mean, he had this confused look on his face. And I said, it's a scary thing. I said, he's scared. The mom is scared. the parents of the kids are scared. Everybody's scared. And I said, but it's easiest for them to leave. The mom can't leave. Baby is in her body, and after she has a baby, the baby's living with her. But the man or the boy can leave. It's easier. He's scared. Another little boy raised his hand. He was like, "Are you saying he's scared of the responsibility?" This was probably like 13 years ago, and I still remember it very vividly. Yes, all of that. But most of the time they leave. Unfortunately, that's statistically right. Talk about what made you not take the easy route and just not be there.
So I've always been unconventional. So I've always been the one who jumped out when nobody else is raising their hand. You know, ever since I was a little bitty boy, I've always been that person where I never took the easy, what some would, you know, proclaim to be the easy route. I was always that person. And maybe it's because I was the first grandchild from my grandmother. She just instilled in me how great I am and how great I could be. And so growing up, I've always been, hey, I'll do it. Hey, that's okay. I got it. I'll take care of that. I'll do that. I'll cook. I'll clean. I'll wash. I never saw it as a chore or a job, right? So you fast forward to me having a son. It's kind of innately in me to take care of people. My grandmother started her own daycare, so I've grown up as a kid teaching babies how to walk, right? And so that's just the nature of who I've been, right? And I just know for my own. And at this time, you know, I had started doing some. At an early age, started doing some mentoring already, right? I had started pulling some young kids in, and I was like, I can't save the world and not make sure my child didn't have it, right? And so I said to myself early on then, and I didn't know what this looks like. I said, when my son thinks about success, I want him to think about his dad, not what he sees, not what he hears, not what somebody else tells him. I want him to say the most successful person that I know is my dad. And I know the only way that I can make that happen for him was to be there. That's it. Number one, I didn't know how that was going to look. I didn't know what I was going to ultimately end up doing. I just wanted him to be along for the ride, to let him know, hey, and it was also vitally important to me that even though me and his mom never even tried to get back together, we still could be parents in a way that's beneficial to you as a child. This ain't no, I can't stand you, don't come around, you taking all my money. He needs to see, hey, man, you may not walk the straight and narrow. You may have some obstacles in life that you may run across. That doesn't mean you can't handle it the right way. And it was important for me that he didn't even know that we weren't together because we were so together.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you for that. That's just, I don't know. I can't overemphasize how important it is. You recognize that it's important, and me being a single mom and seeing and experiencing all that I experienced, just how amazing that is. It seems so simple, but it's just not.
Absolutely.
And it's just powerful that you made that choice and you went that route. So you started talking a little bit about mentoring. So talk a little bit about the mentoring. So you said you had started at that point, which means you were young, a real young person. and now talk a little bit about the mentoring that you do.
So mentoring, and you know, even going back to your choices, mentoring to me started out because I would always run into these kids who didn't really know what a guy looked like present, right? They didn't understand a guy showing up to the events or coming to the games or grabbing, you know, you in the summertime and come and spend a week with me, even when I'm, you know, 18, 19 years old. We're just gonna go hang out at the park. We're gonna go to the arcade. We're gonna just kind of showing them what it looks like just to have somebody present and making sure that I'm getting Christmas presents, and I don't want you to feel bad because they're getting something you're not. So tell me what. And so it started out very early just by me saying, I just want you to see what it looks like to have somebody there. I'm not trying to replace anybody. I just want you to just feel like you should feel okay about somebody being in your life. You don't have to worry about, you know, what somebody else is. You don't have to worry about lacking what you see somebody else has. And so I started getting my cousins when they were 1-2 years old, right? When I'm 16, 17, hey, every summer, y'all come in and stay with me. And they would come and stay with me, and we would literally just hang out. And, you know, I have this running joke with some of my cousins who are grown now. And I was like, yeah, you guys were with me every weekend, going to track meets, going to basketball. If I had something going on in school, they were with me. To the point where people thought I had kids already because they always saw me with kids. And so it's always been something that I just wanted to pride myself in. Just, hey, sometimes people just need to know somebody's available and somebody will be there. Somebody will show up, right? I can't show up for everything, but I promise I'm gonna show up. And so I started out early doing that work, and that was one of the calculated choices. I just believe if you do good to people, it's gonna come back. I just believe in that,
Well,
right?
I'll go there. Let me say that. So the third part of the SO success system is calculated choices, and you're talking about some of your calculated choices. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this is powerful.
So one of the things that I feel like, that's been instilled in me from an early age is it's always about somebody else. And so I've always made a calculated choice to put others first. Now, sometimes that's to my detriment. Sometimes that gets frustrating. Sometimes you kind of look at things and say, I should have never poured into them like that. But I always have to come back and say, listen, you do good to people and it'll come back on you. So I've always made a calculated choice that no matter where I go in life, no matter what I do, it's not for me. It's always for somebody else. Even if it's just for somebody else to see a Black man as a vice president. I've been in IT for 24 years. The title, great. The only reason why I really asked for the title, and I told my CEO when he asked me what title I want, I said, this is the title I want. He was like, why? I go, because young Black men, young Black boys need to see a vice president that looks like them, who's going to show up at their school and say, this is what you want to do. So probably the biggest calculated choice that I continuously make is it's for somebody else. It's always for somebody else. It's always to show somebody else what's possible and to provide hope. That's from a career perspective. I've changed jobs, not a lot, but I have. But most of the time when I've changed the job, it had nothing to do with the salary or the role. It had everything to do with my ability to empower a generation or to empower somebody and give me the flexibility to do that in a way that I feel like is going to be beneficial to those kids. People don't know this, and I've shared this on the story. Like, I got recruited by the Grizzlies like a year ago to come in and run their IT department. I turned it down because I was like, I don't want my time to be so committed to where I can't go to Cordova and speak to the kids. I can't go to this camp and talk to the kids. I can't. That's my life, right? And if something is going to take away from that, I'll sacrifice my desires for that. So my choices are always around, how can I put myself in a position to help somebody else? I can hire interns now, right? So they're on my payroll now. So I can go find somebody that may not be feel like they can get a job, may not even know this is possible. And I have the hiring power. I don't have to get approval. It's me, right? So if there's a young Black person that wants to come and shadow me for a week, I don't have to ask that approval. Yeah, come on. Spend a whole week with me. We're going to go to lunch. You're going to tell me what you want to do. I'm going to hook you up with the right. Yes, I have the ability to do all that. And so my choices that I make now or that I've always made have been very like strategic. Tupac says, like in one of his songs, my every move is a calculated step. That's so true for me. I'm not afraid to walk out of a situation or walk into a situation based on how you allow me to operate in my choices.
So yeah, I'm just listening. But I love it. I love it too. And I love how you said everything that you said, and why I want people to watch this and to take away. Because the main thing that I hear is it starts with the heart. So everything you do is because you want to help somebody else. And so a lot of people have a good heart. Some of us don't, but but a heart to help people and to give to people. But the other thing that I think that is so powerful is it's simple. It's simple. And I think a lot of times we overcomplicate it. So I'm even going back to you talking about you just going to get your cousins and hanging out with your cousins.
Yes.
And you saying, hey, bring an intern in, going to the professional side of it. And we going to lunch and we hanging out. And that's simple. It's small. It's life-changing.
Yes, absolutely.
It's life-changing. That moment of, okay, all we doing is hanging out. Oh, we went to the movies or we went bowling. No, I know and you know that might have kept them from going on this other path.
Absolutely.
It probably kept them from going on this other path and you showing them what's possible. I love it. And that's really, 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 truly what I want people to take from your story. Well, a few things. One is step up if you're a daddy. That's a big one. But also so many are not dads. And again, going all the way back to you being a young person, is all of us can do something. And that can be as simple as, hey, let's go out to eat. Let's go get grab lunch. I think that's powerful.
I think one of the things that gets lost in that is when you show up for, especially the young people, they start to respect you, and they don't want to disappoint you. I mean, I wish I could tell you the amount of times when I would hear young men and I was like, well, why didn't you go there? It's like, well, I couldn't, I ain't finna be calling you from jail. I don't want to disappoint you because you showed up for me. You allowed me to be, who I am, and to be a young man and have pride in who I am. I'm not gonna mess that up because I don't want to disappoint you. I think that gets lost sometimes, the impact that us being present has on them and them not wanting to disappoint us. To your point about, hey, me going to the movies means you don't have to go out in the streets and do something you're not supposed to do. On top of that, it also, they know they're going to have to face me. And like, I've had parents tell me, like, they don't even listen to me, but if I tell them you said it, they'll do it in a heartbeat. And I was like, yeah, they don't want to disappoint me because they know how that's going to make me feel. And they know the time that I've kind of sacrificed to make sure you guys are good. Don't let me get that phone call that you guys are, hey, call me when you need $500, not when you need 5,000. I got 500. I might have to work to get 5,000, right? Don't call me when you need bail money. Call me, yeah. Call me before you rob the store, not after you go to jail. Because I may be able to give you the money you're looking for when you're trying to rob that store.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't believe in throwing good money at the bad, and there's a whole lot of into that. Yeah. But also as a single mom raising a son, I know just exactly what those moms are saying, and the other way, I did not have a daughter, but I'm a mentor too, and I had a mentee, who was a teenager, teen mom, 15. She actually lived with me, and so I know too. It comes a point when they just don't listen to their parents.
Nope.
And that's what makes people like you so much more important and impactful.
Yes.
Impactful. But all of us have that ability.
Absolutely.
All of us have the capacity and the ability to do that and to be it on whatever level we want to do it. And so, yeah, again, hopefully that's what people will take from this interview. It's like, if it's my little cousins, or if it's some kids I don't even know, I'm going to step up and do that. Okay, Antonio, this is cool. So you have shown you know how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices to be a soul of success man. That you definitely are. And not only successful, but definitely significant too, and in changing some lives, lots of lives. I see it. But what is your personal definition of success?
So my personal definition of success is just being the best version of yourself, right? I used to think success was how much money you make, what kind of car you drive. And then I started realizing making this money, having these cars, it doesn't always yield happiness, right? Because there's always a pursuit of more, right? I got this car, I'm looking at the next car. I got this house, I'm looking at the next house. I got this salary, I can't wait till I get to this. And so we started attaching things to success. And I just started to realize that's not really what makes you successful. I mean, how many millionaires do we know that commit suicide that we hear about because they were just so miserable and so unhappy? And so for me, success is just being the best version of myself that I can be. And that's every single day. So that also means that could change, right? It's not an object tied to that. It's just me. So if I need rest and I go to a cabin for a weekend and I get rest, that's the best version of myself. That's successful, right? And so it's you showing up for you the best way you know possible at all costs. I tell my mentees, I tell anybody, I can't be what I need to be for you if I'm not what I need to be for me. And so I have to be the best version of myself to carry this weight, to wear this cape, whatever you want to call it. I have to be the best. So I have to get up and work out, not because I'm trying to get my six pack back, but because I know I got to run from place to place to place. When I leave this interview, I got to go to a middle school basketball game at 1:30 in the afternoon, and I got to go do, and it's like, I can't be tired. Like, I can't not show up because they're expecting me to be there. And so for me, success is simply be the best version of you, like every single day. And that's all it takes. That's it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. One last question for you. You've been dropping nuggets throughout this entire interview, but what's one piece of advice you would give to someone watching this who wants to be successful, however they define it, but they have obstacles, maybe some of the same obstacles that you had? What's one piece of advice you would leave them with?
So I'll give them two. So the first is like know your purpose, like know your God-given gift, talent, whatever that may be. Because I wish I could tell anybody that, hey, it's going to be smooth sailing. You're not going to have any obstacles. You're going to be able to just walk right into whatever you're great at. That's not the reality of the fact, right? But when you know your purpose, then you go beyond what the obstacles are. You actually overcome them because you know, hey, I have this innate ability to be successful at what God has created me to do. I got to get out of my own way. I got to, whatever that is. But you got to know what that is. Like one of the things that I struggle with so many of these young people, they have no clue what their purpose is, right? They see what looks good, they hear what sounds good, and they think that's what they want to do, and it becomes difficult for them to navigate in that space. And I think a lot of them are lost because they just don't know their purpose, right? They have no clue why I'm here on earth to do whatever it is I'm trying to do, and so I would say that's the number one. And I'll say this, you know it at an early age, right? You might not realize it at that time, right? People see me now mentoring. Oh my God, he's always with kids. And I'm like, I've been with kids since I was 13 years old. This has always been in me, right? It's just now on a broader scale. I now understand, oh, that's why I was so interested in making sure that baby took those first steps, and I was clapping and so proud. And so we know at a young age, because God gives us all an ability, we don't know what that's going to ultimately end up looking like or what we're going to have to do to get to that. But you got to find out, God, what back in the day, what was it that I was really good at and I loved and I was passionate about? That's probably what I probably should be doing. That's probably what my purpose is. And then once you discover what that purpose is, then you be the bag, right? I don't like chase the bag. I hate that saying. And I don't let my mentees say that. We're not chasing the bag. I am the bag. Right. Which means I bring value to any relationship, any situation that I'm a part of. I'm not going after anything that you're offering me. Now, there's going to be some things I'm going to reap because of, the situation, but I'm not chasing after that. I'm just chasing after the things that bring value to me. And along the way, if I get millionaire, great, but that's not why I'm doing it. And so I like to tell people, don't stop chasing the bag. Be the bag. When you're the bag, you don't look for people. People look for you. Hey. There's a total difference. There's a total difference when you're the bag. So they're going to look for you. You don't have to look for them.
Be the bag. Be the bag. I like that. I like that. Yes. Antonio, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for being such a amazing example of manhood, of fatherhood, of just being a great person. Yes. And demonstrating so beautifully to me in this interview how simple it is to be an impactful individual and to be a mentor. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you're new to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiration and tips to become a more resilient and confident leader of others or even just your own life.